While I wasn't the biggest fan of Ugly's repetitive level progression, I simply can't ignore the charming art style, and the actual puzzle design is really well put together. The boss fights are also a nice change of pace, and each boss played its role in the overall story. It's a shame that unlocking the real ending felt a bit tedious because of the constant backtracking. But the challenges you had to overcome to unlock this ending really impressed me, and I'm still thinking about them sometimes. The overall presentation is also amazing, and I just have a soft spot for dark fairy tale games, so despite its flaws, it's still one of my favorites. My first experience while playing 9 Years of Shadows could have gone a lot better. The game crashed multiple times and I got really annoyed by the long loading screens. But after some patches, it's still not perfect, but I just love the overall game design, and it's for sure a smoother experience now. Even though it's a pretty linear Metroidvania, the overall presentation and the sound design really elevate the gameplay. I also appreciated this game tried to do something different with how Abino's mechanics work. The elemental armor sets are also really fun to use, and they are well implemented in the boss fights. It's just a really solid Metroidvania that I highly recommend if you would love to try something different. Bramble the Mountain King is another dark fairy tale game that doesn't get the attention it deserves. Yeah, sure, the gameplay can be a bit clunky and unresponsive sometimes, but it's just a breathtaking experience from start to finish. I also love how cinematic this game is. I was really stressed out during some moments because I was so immersed by the environment and the atmosphere. It can be even really unsettling sometimes. I do prefer the more fairy tale-like scenarios, but I also appreciate the developers had the courage to almost make it a horror game during some chapters. I also find the lore of this game very interesting, and some monster encounters are still on my mind after all these months. So it's definitely one of the most memorable games I have played this year. Kingdom Shell is a one-man project, and this is still insane to me. It's not flawless, but I'm so impressed by the overall gameplay and the stunning visuals. I have been following the development of this game for a while, and to see the final version come to fruition after all this time was really special, and I was honored I got the chance to play it before the release date. It can be pretty challenging sometimes. I had a lot of trouble with a specific boss fight in an earlier version of this game, for example. But after some patches, it's a more balanced experience, so you shouldn't miss out on this one. If you love Metroidvania games with some Souls-like elements, then I highly recommend it if you haven't played it yet. Tiny Thor is the best action platformer I have played this year. The creative level design, the charming visuals, the spectacular boss fights and nostalgic soundtrack are the biggest reason why I enjoyed it so much. It's not an easy game. Especially the challenge levels and some late game areas can be a bit rage inducing. but the difficulty is a nice reference to old school games, so I didn't really mind it. The inclusion of Mjolnir was a great choice, and its bouncy mechanics are very well implemented and they elevated the overall gameplay for sure. Hopefully it will get a sequel in the future, but if it doesn't, make sure to check this game out, because it's really unfair how underrated it is. Afterimage is a game that got better over time after a few patches. Many complaints I had in my review are not relevant anymore, so recommending this game is really easy now. The overall presentation is stunning. The massive open world is a bit overwhelming, but also really impressive. And the combat is really smooth and versatile. Finding the right build and the weapon that suited my gameplay the best was really enjoyable, and unlocking new moves for these weapons and trying them out was always very satisfying. The story is still pretty hard to follow, but I'm convinced without it this game is still a great buy if you love Souls-like Metroidvanias. One of the biggest surprises of this year was Convergence, a League of Legends story for me. The only negative thing I can say about this game is that it's a bit short for a game with a pretty expensive price tag, and it's a bit linear for a Metroidvania game. But the rest is just really solid. Echo is a really interesting character, and his moveset and skills work great in an action platformer. His agility and his fun time manipulation gadgets make for some fast-paced and really exciting gameplay. This game is just really fun, and you will still be able to follow the story even if you don't know anything about League of Legends. So make sure to check it out if you haven't already, especially when it's on sale. After seeing the trailer, I knew Cocoon was going to be great and would be one of my favorites of this year. It's a must play if you love creative puzzle games or just creative game design in general. This game's core mechanic is really inventive, and the most impressive thing about it is how it never loses focus and maintains the same quality despite the fact that it has one of the easiest control schemes ever. I also love how this game manages to teach you new mechanics without any hand-holding, and how it trusts the player they are smart enough to figure everything out themselves. This is great game design, and the best way to experience it is to try it out yourself. The Last Faith really managed to impress me with the overall gameplay and presentation, but I cannot recommend it to less experienced players because of some design choices and also because of the overall difficulty. I really enjoyed this game though. It's not flawless sadly, but even though I'm a bigger fan of more platform heavy Metroidvanias, I didn't mind the lack of creative level design in this one. There are many build options, and the combat is simple but effective. The dark fantasy setting is very atmospheric, and I didn't mind the violence and gore at all. You really should play this game if you love Metroidvanias with Souls-like elements. I'm definitely excited to see if they will add more content in the future, because I can't wait to dive into this nightmarish world once more. This could be a controversial pick if you love Blasphemous 1, but I really enjoyed how amazing the level design was in Blasphemous 2. And even though the sequel is more dumbed down and the story is less ambiguous, I really liked it. I just love how the 3 main weapons are implemented as part of the level design, and I really enjoyed how different and unique each boss fight felt. Every single area in this game is also very interesting to explore and created with such attention to detail. I also think the overall presentation is stunning, and even though I enjoyed the setting of The Last Faith more, the amazing level design of Blasphemous 2 really took the cake for me. You can't go wrong with both of these games, but if I have to crown one of them as my favorite game of the year, it has to be Blasphemous 2. Thanks for watching.